but are energetic, relational, and sensual. And that's why a lot of times, if you're painting or if you paint, you don't figure things out with your eyes. It tastes right, it smells right, something feels right, and you begin to trust those tools of inquiry. And this is very important to the moon because she says you must trust your sensual knowing, because when the sun awakens within you, it doesn't awaken as the outward sun. And if it does, and you relate to that outer sun, you most assuredly will become a tyrant. Because you will say, I am the sun, I embody it, I am the Messiah, I bring forth all. That's a misunderstanding of the sun. Because she says, you see, the sun is within every cell. That's the inner radiance, the warmth. And so for this true sun to awaken, it must animate and radiate and nourish every cell. And since I'm the mother, I can't hierarchicalize those cells. You can't look at the lesser and greater in time and think you know anything about this greater body. And if you deplete and don't nourish, you are simply making decisions for a king in time. Not the sun, not the true knowledge, not gnosis, not that which actually is illumination, because illumination illuminates from within, not without. And this is where we start to see this story of why the moon and the sun are so imperative. As I say, the moon, without going through the moon, and this actually brings up a point about the feminine wisdom, about the mystery traditions, that without the movement through the sensual, without the movement through the corporeal, without this relationship to our inward ancientness that animates us, we cannot bring forth true solar wisdom. We can bring forth the maxims of solar wisdom. We can bring forth the performance of solar wisdom, but it's very interesting to see how often in that supposed solar wisdom of many individuals, their life does not correspond to the platitudes and the realizations that they're expressing. And this is why the necessity of the alchemical sun and moon is because they absorb and ameliorate one another. A bit like a very good relationship does that. Carla and I have been together for many, many years, and what I've realized over time is that she asks questions or makes demands of me that make me more forthcoming and realize I must adjust and ameliorate certain qualities, and the same inversely. And this is what the archetypes are trying to say. And put it in a second tape. Good.
That's a good time.
Yes, get a restroom.
Potty break.
Potty break, yes, follow the, it's right there in the door on the,
To the left.
yeah, just,
Right?
yes. Follow Ruth, she'll have a relieved look on her face.
She's inside.
So let's just take during break you asked a very interesting question, so I wanted to bring this up again and then return to the sun. It was about the moon holding the sword. You see the cobra riding up off the hilt of the sword. And you'll notice how the sword does not come to a point. It actually tapers, and then it becomes a river that flows between her breasts. And if you look at her breasts, there's actually the loop of infinity. So this is really about what she's saying. It's not a done deal. This is something that is ongoing vigilance. And as a matter of fact, the hilt of the sword, you'll see, there's the lunar crescent pointing downward, and then above it the lunar crescent upward. And this is very important to remember, because in the lunar symbolism is that the moon, when it is reflecting downward, is reflecting back, and this is very much about this archetype, reflects back to us our own sets of assumptions. And what's very interesting about the tarot moon is that it is the moon in Pisces, not just the moon, it's the moon in Pisces. And the moon in Pisces, everything's like a detective story in this, and it tells the story of that Pisces is the last astrological house, and it is also the sum total of all the houses that have preceded it. It's the house of the collective, of that which is not simply shared by the individual, but truly by the collective as well, which is why Pisces has been associated with insanity, with the incapacity to differentiate between personal data and transpersonal data, because in a way it's asking for the development of a new quality of mind, the realization that we are not just one thing, we are the outcome of all these different qualities. And therefore, as the moon reflects back this nature to ourselves, as it reflects back our own assumptions, what she is saying, that through this journey towards self-determination and self-awareness, you will finally aright the moon. It will not simply reflect back to you your own sets of assumptions, but it will turn the bowl up, and this reveals the hidden or the dark side of the moon. And we know that the moon reveals only one half of her face. Now, what is so important about that, symbolically speaking, is that the moon, reflecting back the emotional climate and assumptions of the world, amplifies those assumptions. But through this inner process, this inner journey, this journey through the moon, we realize that what she's doing is opening, changing the bowl that reflects back simply the world of our own assumptions, is turning it now, because what we are becoming a vehicle that can hold the waters of our own deeper possibility. And this is where we move from the front of the moon to the hidden side of the moon. And when we move to the hidden side of the moon, we realize that it is an open pupil. It is an eye looking upon the cosmos that remains hidden until, through our own subjective transformation, we can carry the knowing of this opening eye and eye. And that's why, when we move toward the sun, here we start to see that this knowledge that looks now out, not simply toward the earth, but looks away from the earth as well, into the greater depths of the cosmos, into the greater possibility of the heavens, is that this is our open eye, and it is a subjective open eye because it cannot be known by those who are waiting on earth for others to come, not realizing that they are the vehicle of their own transformative and transportive unit of awareness.
Could you speak to the cobra between the eclipsed moon and in the dark side?
Well, the cobra really has a lot to do with the awakening of Kundalini energy, and what we find with the cobra and with the serpent as well, because the serpent is also the great symbol of the goddess in ancient times. And it was this realization that because she embodies not time, but she embodies all time, meaning that she is the generative door through which we all enter this world, and the matter or mater from which all temporary forms are woven. Therefore, to understand the serpent or Kundalini was not, again, to have a cultural sense of these energetics, but to understand that this entity that we are housing this temporary psychology in is an ancient serpent. It is an ancient tree. And therefore, the energies that she is raising are the energies of ancientness. And as a matter of fact, it is our absolute ancientness within the spine that knows, a bit like when insemination of the ovum occurs and the process of gestation begins. It's not something that any conscious mind is controlling. Something has been set in motion. And this is what she's saying with the serpent. If you attend these energies, not as your own small little acre of land of Kundalini, but you understand that you are the outcome and embodiment of these qualities of consciousness, as they awaken, they will not amplify your personality. They will burn away that which is no longer useful, that which is an impediment to this clarity of vision that comes from realizing that the outer face in time is one perception, but what you are is an inner, energetic of consciousness that, if you are unready for, will dissolve you. And yeah.
Yeah, I don't. But I'm also noticing the apple tree, which suggests the one from Genesis, and then the moon in that is a full moon.
Yes.
And I'm just looking at the parallel with the more archetypal scene of the crescent moon on the other side. Is there?
There is, because what we're doing